When I started my first nursing job, I had no idea what I was in for. Before nursing, I worked in finance and at the Social Security Administration. I didn't know anything about ratios, average salaries, patient and family dynamics, department politics, or burnout. I just needed a job, and I needed one fast. So I said yes to the first offer I got. But if I could go back and talk to myself before that first day, here's what I'd say. I remember during orientation, I got scolded by a nurse who wasn't even my preceptor. I was on a telemetry floor passing morning meds, and one of the meds that I had to give was Lasix. And I remembered from nursing school that it makes you pee a lot, but that's about all that I remembered. And before I entered the patient's room, she stopped me and she asked, "What are you going to do before you give this Lasix?" And I said, "Well, it's a diuretic, so I should probably get the patient a urinal or two so he's not getting up every 15 minutes. "Good. What else?" she asked. So I said, maybe I should check for allergies or check the dose. I think that's right. And oh yeah, I gotta make sure it's the right time and I'm not giving it too early. We're not too late. Okay, what else? At that point, I was blank. And she looked at me and said, "What does Lasix affect?" The kidneys? "What about the blood pressure?" she asked. "Oh, right. Yeah, I should check their blood pressure first." And then she hit me with it. "Didn't you go to nursing school?" She made me feel like a complete idiot that day. And that was the first time I really understood what people meant when they say that nurses eat their young. She treated everyone on that unit like they were beneath her. Before becoming a nurse, I'd never worked in an environment where I felt that lost and unsupported. But here's the truth. No matter where you go, you're going to meet nurses, doctors, supervisors, people who treat you like you're dumb, uneducated, like you don't belong. That's why I always tell new nurses, find the ones who are supportive, the ones who remember what it's like to be new, the kind nurse who explains things without making you feel stupid, the charge nurse who checks in without micromanaging you, the tech in that department who helps you clean up your third cold brown of the morning without making a face. Find those people early and they're going to save you. I found mine, and once I did, we had each other's back. I helped them with their patients, they helped me with mine. That's what kept me sane while I was there. I stayed at that first job for a year, just long enough to get my tele experience so I could apply and leave to work in an ER. But before that year was even over, I was already burning out. I was working at least 50 hours a week, sometimes 16-hour shifts. But can you guess how much my pay was? $37 an hour in New York City. Think about that for a second. I believe every employee should be paid well, but when a nurse is making the same hourly rate as a Costco employee, something's not right. I remember thinking, how is it possible that nurses go through a program that would push any normal person into a psych ward and still end up earning less than someone working as a cashier or at a desk job in New York City? That's when I started doing my research. Every lunch break, I was on forums, career pages, social media. I was looking for a way out, for hospitals that respected nurses, that paid fairly, that didn't run you into the ground. Eventually, I landed a job at New York Presbyterian, one of the highest paying hospitals in New York City. My pay jumped from $37 an hour to $47 an hour. It wasn't a miracle, but it was a start for me. The grass looked greener for me, at least. That was until I remembered that New York City is expensive as hell. At one point, we could barely make ends meet. We were making okay money on paper, but in real life, we were barely surviving. And then one day, I was precepting a nursing student in my unit, and we were talking about nursing salaries. And I said something like, well, in New York City, if you pick up a lot of overtime, you can definitely hit $180,000 in 1 year. And she just kind of laughed and said, yeah, but my parents both make over $200,000 each without overtime. And I said, wait, what? They're both nurses? Yeah. They work at a hospital in California. It's called Kaiser. And I went home that night and told Monica, there's a hospital in California where nurses make $200,000 a year. And they're not even picking up OT to earn that. I couldn't stop thinking about it. Around the same time, I realized one of my coworkers had been gone for a few weeks. No one said anything. He just kind of disappeared. I figured that he transferred to another floor or maybe even left the hospital. But months later, I found out that he moved to California too. No announcement, no goodbyes. He just packed up everything and he left. And I started thinking, what did he figure out that I didn't? And I started doing my research again, but this time I wasn't just looking for a better hospital, I was looking for a better life for our family. Every moment I was reading union contracts, looking at Glassdoor, salary reports, housing costs, crime rates, taxes, the whole thing, and everything kept pointing to the same conclusion. California pays nurses more than anywhere else. And if you're smart about where you live, you can make a lot and keep even more. That's actually one of the reasons we're building this app called MapMyPay. We keep seeing nurses move across the country for what looked like a big paycheck and a big pay bump, but when you factor in housing, taxes, cost of living, it's like they're actually worse off. So we're building this app where you can compare cities side by side and see what your paycheck's actually worth after all of that. It's mainly for nurses, nursing assistants, licensed practical nurses, nurse practitioners, registered nurses, midwives, CRNAs, nursing professors and instructors, and nurse managers. But it works for anyone outside of the nursing industry who's looking into these areas and wondering, should I stay where I'm at or take an offer in another city? Anyway, it's not live yet, but if anyone watching wants to try it out early, you can join the waitlist at mapmypay.com and I'll let you know as soon as it drops. Okay, back to the story. That's when we planned the vacation to the Bay Area. We weren't even planning to move. We just wanted to see what it was like. While we were there in California, we visited that friend who used to work with me back in New York, and I thought he and his wife were renting an apartment. We pull up to his quiet suburban neighborhood, and I'm thinking, wait, this is where they live? He opens the door to a brand new house. We bought it, he says, 8 months after we moved here. That's when I asked him, how much do you guys make out here? And he said the words that confirmed everything. My base pay is about $89 an hour, but with evening differential, it adds up. You can easily make $200,000 a year here if you play it right. We applied for our California nursing licenses before we even flew back home. And when we returned to New York City, I continued to apply for jobs. And in 3 weeks, I had 3 job offers. One of the interviews happened while we were still on vacation. I had to extend the trip just to take the call. That's how fast it happened. And once we moved to California, everything changed. Monica and I can now make a combined $300,000 a year while working less than 40 hours a week between the two of us. I work 5 8-hour shifts in a row, and then I have 9 days off. And even with a schedule that flexible, I still get full health and dental benefits for my family of 4, paid vacation leave, paid sick time, paid bereavement leave, continuing education pay and reimbursement, and I get all of that for just under $80 per pay period in nurse union dues. We used that income to buy our first house. A 4-bedroom, 3.5 bathroom home, just under 3,000 square feet, has a rooftop patio and an in-law suite and a 2-car garage. We also paid off over $128,000 in debt in less than a year. And we built a business that now helps other nurses do the same. And I'm not saying this to flex. I'm telling you this because when I started that first job at $37 an hour, I didn't know this life was even possible. I thought nursing meant exhaustion, burnout, and picking up 50 hours a week just to make rent. But it doesn't have to be that way. So if you're a new nurse just starting out, don't assume you have to settle for what's offered. Don't assume your license is only worth what they're paying you. And don't assume burnout is just part of the job. Ask questions even when you're afraid of the answer. Do your research, and remember, if something doesn't feel right, it's probably not. You became a nurse to change lives. But don't forget you're allowed to change your own too. That's what I tell any new nurse before their first job. And if you found this video helpful, subscribe to our channel and make sure you watch this video here to see how Monica and I make over $100 per hour.